Well, good morning everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Greg, and for those of you who saw my last video, I showed you how to make one of these. In today's video, we're going to change it up a bit and make something similar, but a lot smaller. So join me in a minute and we'll get started. So this is going to be a scrap wood project, and here I've got two pieces that I want to use. I might end up having to use three, we'll find out. And this was an old 1x8 that I've ripped down, which I mentioned in the last video. Measurements for this are 23 3/4 inches, so that's what, 604 mil. It is 2 inches wide and stands at about, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 7/8 thick. So 22 mil. So yeah, I've got two pieces of those. One's a little bit shorter. The smaller piece that I'm going to be using is 19 3/4 inches, which stands at 500 mil. Thickness is exactly the same. What we're going to do, we're going to rip this down into inch, I reckon maybe 1.25 inches. Let's have a look. Yeah, 1.25 inches, so 33 mil. Again, I do have notes here. I have written down some notes, and this project is actually something that my fiance saw and asked to make. And I thought, you know what, I can put a spin on it and see what it comes out like. So I'll get the table saw set up, and then we'll start ripping down some pieces. Now, what you want to do is set the blade height to just above the wood. I don't know how well you can see that on the video. So find the apex, and then just so it comes through when you saw. Right, don't forget guys, whenever you're using equipment and power tools, always wear protective equipment. So ear defenders, face mask and goggles. Just blow the dust off of this one. Does need a bit of a clean, to be honest. Okay, so now with our pieces cut down to 1.25 inches. I don't know if you can see that. And again, 1.25 inches. What we're going to do, we're going to set up our miter saw and we're going to start making some small cuts. So what you want to do, set your saw, sorry about the lighting, to 30 degrees, like so. With our saw now at 30 degrees, what we're going to do is put our PPE back on. Now we've made our first cut, 30 degrees, what we're going to do, we're going to make our first cut, and we're going to measure down 4.25 inches, which is approximately 105 mil for people in the UK, and we're just going to mark that across. So now what we need to do, flip the board over when we cut, and 4.25 inches down, we're going to cut it the opposite direction. This means that when it sits like that, it's flat across the bottom. So with that piece now cut, you can see we've got 30 degree on both sides, and that's going to sit like that. So we've got that nice flat face across the bottom. As you can see, maybe if I can angle it right in the video, we're sitting pretty at 4.25. Now what I need is a piece at 3/7/8 of an inch, which in English money I believe is 98 mil. So I'm going to cut the next piece, and then after that I'm going to be cutting 5 pieces at 4 inches, which is roughly 101, 102 mil. So you can see what I'm doing here. Now how this is going to sit will be with our 4.5 inch piece. We're going to sit it on top like so. Okay. So that's going to sit somewhere like that. So now what I'm doing is just marking out the 4-inch pieces, and these ones are all parallel to each other. So what you end up with is something like that. So now we've cut all those, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark each one on the outside so I know. I mean, you can write on the side, but you mean you're going to be looking down anyway, and we're going to be sanding it all off. So we're going to write 4.25 on one, 3 7/8 on the other, and then all of them with 4 inches. And the one that I have made a mistake, and I'm going to leave it in the video. What I've done, I got carried away and I cut 5 pieces parallel when what I needed was one 4-inch piece in the opposite direction. So I'll cut that now. Always wear a mask. I forgot to put mine on. So you should have 4 pieces, 4 inches, all parallel. One 4-inch piece with opposing angles. One 4.25 inch piece, and one 3 7/8. Now let me clear the workbench off, and then we'll get this thing assembled. Okay, so bring your pieces together, and what you should have is something like that. Okay, and these are just the 4-inch pieces. They can go up as high or as low as you want. Hang on. Okay, now I've made a couple of errors in this video. 5 pieces you should have at 4 inches. You need 1 piece 5.5 inches, and then you need your 4-inch parallel piece. I will put proper dimensions in the description, just so you know, but I have made a few mistakes, but that's okay, it doesn't bother me. They're very easy replaceable. So now I'm going to show you how to build this with all pieces. And just to go over the cut pieces again, what you will need is 1 4.25 inch piece, 1 3 7/8 inch piece, 4 4-inch pieces, 1 5.5 inch piece and one 4 inch piece. So now I'm just going to tilt the camera and we'll get it assembled. Okay, so with your 5.5 inch piece, lay it out flat. 2 of your 4 inch pieces are going to sit parallel in there. I don't know how well you can see that. Your other 2 4 inch pieces are just going to sit on top like so. And then your 4 1/4 and your 3 7/8 are going to be your finishing piece. And they're going to sit nice and snug up like that. And then with your 4 inch piece, you're just going to eyeball the bottom. And that's our Christmas tree. So I'm going to get this assembled, and all I'm going to do is use a little bit of the CA glue, which we saw in the last video, and a little bit of the activator, which we saw in the last video too. I'm going to start with the top, then I'm going to do the bottom, and then we're going to assemble the middle pieces separately. You can do this in whatever order you want, that's just how I find it easier. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little tick mark here and a little tick mark here, and that is where I'm going to line up my piece. Now I'm only going to glue one side of this, because as you can see that's just touching there, and there'll be enough glue on this side to hold it. And once I've done that, I'm going to fire in a couple of pins just to secure it, or brad nails should I say. So again, let's find that mark, which is that. Right, so with that assembled, what I'm going to do is just put the bottom on. Just a blob there, a blob there, a blob basically on each corner, and just a little in the middle. You really don't need too much. Through the bottom, we're going to eyeball centre, which for me is there, and then just use your hand and apply a bit of pressure. Like that. Now I am aware that this has got a little bit of an overhang, but again that's because of the mistake that I made, which I'm not too worried about, because by the time I've sanded it all down it'll be perfect. So before I start sanding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the brad nailer and I'm going to pin it together, and I'm going to be using 18 gauge 1 1/4, I got the wrong box, 1 1/4 brad nails from Tackwise. And what I'm going to do is just put a few, maybe like 1 or 2 in each edge, just to hold it together. It's very, very, very important to watch your fingers, otherwise it can hurt. Like so. And then I'm just going to put a couple into this one just to hold it. So now with that done, we're going to start sanding. Because I've got to remove some material along the bottom, I'm going to start with 40 grit. And this is just from Trend. So I'm going to go 40, and then I'm going to hit it with a bit of 80, and then I'll finish it with probably with a bit of 120. And again, I'm just going to use my orbital sander for this. So now we've sanded that down, as you can see, looks really nice that. I quite like this little overhang here. I wasn't too sure about it at first, but having that little overhang I actually think adds quite a nice little contrast to it. So now with this, you can see it sits upright, looks lovely. So now we can move to the finishing stage. Again, what you can do with a lot of this is you can either burn them, or you can put a wax on it, or a nice simple finish. As I said in my last video, I'm a big fan of the Black Bison from Liberon. I mean, you could even just put a normal coat of poly on it, or you could even paint it and just have it as a normal decoration. I see what a lot of people do is they'll put it on like on a base like this, and they'll put like a tea light candle here along the bottom, and just have it as a nice backdrop. As I said, this one's just something that my missus was asked to make because she quite liked the idea of it. So I think if I was going to make them properly, there is definitely a few things that I would change in this build. Probably the thickness and the way it's assembled as well. I mean, I might see if I can bring them up a bit and have a bit more height to it, or even the cut pieces as well. I mean, could always make them a bit longer, do them at 5 inches rather than 4 inches, and just increase the size. So I'm going to go and get this finished now, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay guys, so all finished, all sorted out, and that is the final result. Beautiful. I said this one's going to be for my missus. It is made out of reclaimed wood. Was a 1x8. I'll put the dimensions in the description because I have messed up in this video. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to leave it there because people make mistakes. So I just see nothing to worry about. But if you have stuck it out to this far in the video, please give us a like if you like it, comment, subscribe. I'll answer questions as and when I can, and I will be looking at all of them as they come through, But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.